scored. It meant something more. Than
yeah. That's a guy that we lean on as far as the offense, and he's been involved in a lot of scoring chances through his little bit of his drought here. He just hasn't finished, and some guys around him hasn't finished with some of the offensive plays he's made. So yeah, I hope we'll see what happens when we start tonight's game.
John, I'm here. This isn't the last game of the season. It is a very big game, obviously. How do you keep from putting too much on one game?
I don't.
No, that's it.
No. We play. We know how important the games are. No game in the rest of the year is more important than the other. This is our next game. The guys know where they're at in the standings. They know we're Montreal. I don't have to talk about it. Sometimes you start trying to put too much importance on it. You spook them. I want them to relax and enjoy it. So we're going to play.
Dave, back with us.
Dave, they threw you out of the front row here today?
Let's be honest, John, it's safer back here.
Yes, it is. Yes. Yes. That's the best thought of the year right there, Dave.
Leading off Tom's question, are there other guys who are not scoring but are elevating their games in ways that help you right now in a big way?
Yeah, I think when he has played well, has made some plays on that line. I think not so much scoring, but I think we had a line the other night of Nash, Doobie, and Nick Foligno, something we haven't had all year long, play a major role against a team that checks the way they do. We kind of matched them with their checking with that line and put them in a lot of those type of situations. So, yeah, as you're grinding away and the games get closer and they're tight, you find a way to get a win. Everybody contributes, and I felt that's what's happened the past couple of games against Van and the Lions. Two different type play games, but I think everybody contributed.
John, excuse me if you've addressed this, I'm sure you have, but can you describe what the challenge was for you making the amount of changes you made so late in the season, and you're in the midst of a playoff battle as a coach to build cohesion in your team when so much changes? What is that challenge like?
Yeah, well, every team goes through it at the deadline. Our situation, I think we had some guys, namely our top line, start struggling at that time. The new guys come in. I just don't think we're going to win many games unless we have our top line going. And the new guys come in, we start, just knee-jerking a little bit as far as the winning and losing. They start feeling pressure because they want to help. I think the way it was handled when Jarmo made the deals, everybody jumping in. So now they start talking about the Columbus Blue Jackets winning rounds in the playoffs. We haven't even made them yet. I do think that makes people anxious. Some guys that haven't been in situations of feeling that type of pressure that we're supposed to win. And everybody wants to win, but then when people start knocking on your door, you're supposed to win, it's a little different of an expectation. So a number of things came into play. I think we've grounded ourselves here a little bit and found a way to get it going. Our top line's playing a little bit better. The other guys have fit in really. To me, that's the last thing. The other guys being integrated in the team, to me, is the last thing that I thought. I don't think it went wrong. I think other things were coming into play at that time of the deadline. Yeah, so it is what it is. You work through it. Whatever's happening with your team at that situation, you got to try to work through it. And I think our guys have found themselves at a good time. Bob has played very well. And as each game comes, the pressure is there. And the key thing is don't be afraid of the pressure. Don't feel nervous about the pressure. Why not try to enjoy it? And I think that's where our meetings have come into play, that let's try to enjoy this. This is supposed to be fun, playing the game. Yeah, it isn't. It's hard. It's hard because our athletes in our game and the game of the National Hockey League, we've got some really good athletes that care. And the more you care and the more pressure that's coming your way when you're looking at the standings, because everybody is, our guys are, you look at them, you care so much, you're almost caring too much, and you add more pressure to yourself instead of allowing the game to come to you. Don't chase the game, allow it to come to you. And I think success, obviously, is a huge part of that. Everybody has fun when you're winning. When you're going through some of the 500 hockey that we've gone through here at a very important time, it's not fun sometimes. At the end of the night, you don't get the result. And yeah, so it's that's the most interesting part of the game, and coaching in all sports, as far as I'm concerned, is peeling the head and finding out which button can you push to get them to play with confidence, because that's what it's about. And so step by step, we're trying to get there.
You said earlier it was a mind game, and you alluded to, in that last answer, how to transform the pressure to positive. Mm-hmm. Now, scoring aside in the last 2 games, do you feel that your team, the mindset and the play, is right where you want them to be?
Yes. No coach ever thinks it's right where it wants to be. You always want more, right, as a coach. I think the 2 days in Vancouver, in between the Edmonton game and playing Van, I think we had 2 very productive days as far as talking some things out, having a really good practice, which we haven't had much practice time, and then finding a way to win a game. I think that culminated into just that confidence growing. We knew what we were going to face against the Islanders. I really liked the way our team played, because we had to play a different game, basically, because the Islanders force you to play that type of game where it's just so close checking and who blinks first. We found a way to win that game. So you put layers on your confidence. So I really felt we started turning the corner after a dismal effort against Edmonton, spending a couple of days not even mentioning one word about the Edmonton game, moving forward, trying to figure out how we're going to go about our business. And I think it loosened us up a little bit.
John, just quickly in the lineups, Zach good to go? Zach Werenski good to go?
As of right now, yes.
Yeah. Any other changes
No.
to the lineup other than that? Okay.
No.
Hey, John. You said that the 2 games that you just played were very different from each other. Was there any common thread that allowed you to keep the puck out of your own net? And just that thought on the Islanders that you just had, is that a similar game that you're facing in Montreal?
Well, yeah, I think Montreal has I think they're a little bit, I think they're a faster team than the team we played before. They're very well coached away from the puck. It's very similar to the last team we played, the Islanders. Playing with a ton of confidence, obviously, in the run they're on now, last 4 or 5 games, and I'm not sure how many before that. Yeah, I don't want you to get me wrong. We try to play the way we play. We can't worry about too much what Montreal is going to do. The Islanders just kind of drag you into that. Like I said after the game, it's just not that exciting to watch, but you have to really be patient. I think it's similar against Montreal, because they have a very good goaltender, as we do. The teams kind of match up in this situation here, and I think Montreal is going to defend the proper way. They're taught very well how to play away from the puck. They're going to wait for their opportunities, and with their transition game, that's where they get you. So we got to make sure if they're going to get anything, it has to come from 200 feet. And that's where we have to be careful, because I think there's some depth in that lineup, some balance within the lines, and no matter who they send out, we got to just be sharp as far as between the blue lines, not turning pucks over.
And sorry, was there just one thing between those 2 games that you guys did that
Different?
Yeah.
Oh, that we didn't get scored on? Yeah, we had a pretty good goalie, first of all, Bob, who's played very well. No, the one thing we stressed in the Islander game is the patience of it. Vancouver was more offensive. There were more chances by both teams, more wide open, if you can call it that way. We know how the Islanders are going to play. They don't give you many odd man rushes. They just wait for their opportunities. I thought we were in the same boat as them as far as patience, where the first 3 games against them, we get a little antsy because we're not scoring, then we open up and then they score. Once they score, you're chasing the game. It's tough to beat them. So I thought our patience was really good. And it's a great question going into tonight's game, because I think as each game goes by here, coming up, we need to play with more and more patience. And when I say that, that's not having your foot in the gas pedal and going and attacking, but there are certain situations and momentums in the game that you have to be patient and fight another day, or they'll hurt you. This team here will hurt you. You guys know. I think we can lean on that tonight as far as how well we did that against the Islanders.
Coach, talk of the town in Montreal is Paul Byron not playing, obviously, because of that fight against Uyghur, bigger guy, tougher guy. And we're talking about the code. And I was just wondering, what's your thought on that code, if it's still important to have that code?
But explain, I didn't see the fight, and I heard some talk about the code.
Well, he was suspended for a hit to Uyghur at the beginning of the season, and then he had to answer and fight a bigger guy, tougher guy. And we're talking about the code. Yeah. And I was just
that they shouldn't have gone after him because of what
the code
early?
That he had to fight a guy because he injured him, and then. So.
Yeah, I'm just not around it. It's hard for me to comment on it.
But you know the code, right?
I do think I do think our game. And I want to, because this, Paul's hurt. I want to make sure I answer this the proper way. I do still think there needs to be more honesty brought into the game, and I think if you let the players handle the situations on the ice, and not get the league too much involved in supplementary discipline and all that goes on with it. I guess what I'm saying, I like to see it a little bit back into the old school where none of the cheap stuff happens if the players are keeping one another honest on the ice. I don't think this stuff happens if it's just kept honest on the ice by the players. I think that's been taken away from the teams. And so I hope I'm explaining it right, because I'm not condoning anybody going after anybody. I think the players need to decide everything as best they can. Without the referees, without the league, without the coaches, it's the players' game, and including the physical part and, I guess, taking care of one another on the ice. I think it should be decided by the players. The best way to have that and to turn it into, to me, a better game and a cleaner game is to let that happen. Am I explaining myself right?
I know it's a hot topic, so I didn't want to throw it under the bus, but it's important to.
And I don't want to step out of bounds, because I'm not in Paul's situation. I didn't see any of this stuff happen, but I've always been an advocate. I think the players should decide what goes on the ice, and then I do think it calms down. I think there's a mutual respect amongst the players. I think it gets aggravated sometimes when everybody else steps in. I think when the players decide it, and I think it ends up being a better game. I am not advocating going after people or anything like that. I just advocate the players should keep the honesty in the game.
Thank you.
So you would not ban the fighting?
Me? No. No.
Oh, are you seeing Dzingel kind of settle in even a little bit more now? That line especially, are they starting to give you what you've wanted?
Yeah, they even though they haven't put up a lot of numbers at certain times, they have been pretty good. It's good to see Zinger. We put him on the power play, scores a power play goal. They have been pretty good. Dutchy is, I go back to that Boston. You talk about, I forget who asked me about confidence. What if Dutchy scores in that overtime against Boston early in that trip? We battle back. We have the best chance prior to them scoring a goal with Dutchy walking down the pipe. What happens if he scores? They're the confidence. I think he is a step away of scoring a lot of goals for us, but he's doing other things also.